I was out with someone last night, and this person hasn't really been in my life that long. So I said, let's go get some sushi, right? So we met up and we decided to hang out for the night. During our conversation, we were kind of talking about our past. And it sort of hit me in the middle of the conversation that I remember being that kid back in middle school and high school who was very edgy. I had a lot of incel like thoughts as well. And I shared that with this person. I used to have a hatred for women when I was in high school. And that's for traumatic reasons. If y'all know my past, you would understand why. Abuse happens. And my mother never really did anything wrong to me, but I felt angry and I wasn't very nice to my mom because of what another woman did and how they hurt me. And I was also very insensitive about many things in my life because I just spent time on 4chan all day and I was just growing up on the internet. You know what I'm saying? I was very cynical, negative, angry, and my opinions were very swayed towards extreme thoughts. And I always told myself, though, when I was younger in this phase, that one day I am no longer going to be this edgy kid. I'm not going to be this weird kid anymore. I'm not going to have these hatred thoughts. Rather, I'm just going to grow out of it. Well, I get older, became an adult. These traits I had when I was younger, they automatically corrected themselves because I got a job and I was dating somebody. And I treated this girl poorly because I was clearly hurt by women, like I mentioned earlier. But even though things started to correct itself, partially, I didn't grow out of it until years later. My ego and the need to feel like a victim all the time died out several times in my life. Rather, since I didn't grow out of it all the time, I noticed, truth be told, I ended up just being an antisocial adult. It's funny because sometimes people look at teenagers and they'll be like, they're just kids. That's how they act. They're just kids, right? But little do we consider that these behavioral issues will migrate to your adulthood, but it will be presented in a different form. I would say 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, the behavioral problems or the destructive ideologies you have, they get worse. I'm not a psychologist, but I think a lot of mental issues end up onsetting because of unmanaged destructive childhood behaviors. Just because you're a kid or someone is a kid in general, it doesn't mean their destructive behavior is okay. But if you say that or believe that, people will defend it and be like, they're just kids. They don't know any better, right? Kids just don't know any better. You're right, in a sense, but doesn't it disturb you that nobody's correcting or teaching them better? Yo, let me tell y'all something that people just find this. So last week, I dyed my hair fully blonde again, right? I haven't posted on Instagram in like forever. I only post, maybe I'll post on this so you show how it looks. I got this new leave-in conditioner I've been using for months, so my hair is like super curly and smooth now. But my hair used to be dry, bro. So I'm at the salon getting my hair done, right? One of the owners of the shop, they walked in one day and he's in crutches. And I don't see a cast on his leg or anything, right? So I can't really determine the injury. And I'm scared to ask him, like, you twisted your ankle or something? Why are you in crutches? Like, what happened, bro? And we have a sort of relationship where we joke around with each other. So good thing I bit my tongue that day because I was going to make a joke that he got jumped. Well, what happened? He got jumped. Okay. He was telling me the story. This is a grown man who is like 65 years old. He was in a car parked on the side of the road, just minding his own business, right? He was on his phone. It was maybe 9:30 at night. A group of teenagers were walking up the block, throwing rocks at cars that were parked. Literally just picking up rocks and throwing it at cars. And some were just knocking on windows aggressively. As you can see, a bunch of teenagers, of course, wearing skinny jeans and a broccoli haircut up to no good, naturally. And ironically, people like this end up having both their mother and their father in their life, yet still act like this, okay? So they go to his car and they almost smash his window through. And he's still in the car, mind you. And he gets out the car and he's like, yo, what are y'all doing? And then these teenagers started getting loud and surrounding him. And they literally jump him around a 65-year-old man. And it was a group of guys and girls jumping this old man, right? One of the girls went into her purse during the jumping, pulled out a knife and stabbed him in the abdomen like 6 times, full blade right to his gut. And he still fought them off. That's what's crazy about it. He still fought. He does karate, by the way. So, hey, listen, hey, he pulled it off, but he still ended up getting stabbed, you know? And he ended up catching one of the girls by the hair, and he was like holding her down while the rest of the kids ran. The cops came, and the guy and their family is filing a lawsuit against all their families, all those teenagers, all their families are getting sued right now. That girl that got caught snitched on everyone. And I'm glad she did. Y'all were causing trouble vandalizing. And you try to jump an old man who didn't want his car window smashed? Yo, he was saying to me that it hurts every time he leans forward and back. And like, it feels like he's always doing sit-ups. Like, you know, when your abdomen muscles be sore when you're doing sit-ups, right? Like, it feels like that for him, like all the time. And he was saying some of the parents of the children, of the teenagers who jumped him, are trying to defend themselves in the lawsuit by going like, they're just kids up to no good. Teenagers end up doing stuff like this. Please give them a chance. Yo, what? That's your argument? They're just kids. They're just teenagers. Yeah. Yo. What would have happened if the guy died from the stabbing? What would have happened? What if he didn't take karate? Okay, and he couldn't defend himself. What would have happened if someone hit him hard enough in the head while you were jumping him, and then he falls and hits his head again? Then his skull fractures or something. Then what? They're just kids. They don't know any better though, right? People have this weird thing, not just parents. Teenagers also do this too. They'll be like, once I turn 18, I'll change. Why do you have to wait until you're 18 to say that? Like, nah. Like, just because you turn 18, it doesn't mean you flip a switch and suddenly now everything you do is correct. It doesn't mean you're suddenly behaved and learn morality, okay? And this stuff gets unchecked. And when it does, these people end up in bad situations. People act like good behavior or the knowledge of how to behave is suddenly going to appear in their head. So going back to how I started this video, like, I was thinking as a teenager, I'm no longer going to be this weird, angry little kid when I get out of high school. Once I turn 18, I'm changing it up. Then turns out, I can't flip a switch. People just can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I end up with antisocial tendencies. And at times, I had no real direction in my life. We have to keep in mind that adolescence is not a temporary phase of impulsive behavior. People will say it is. It's not a temporary phase. It's not appropriate to dismiss it just because of someone's age. Grown adults still have the same behavior. Okay, why do you think grown adults still have the same behavior that you would see in adolescence? The habits, choices, and emotional patterns we have will evolve into serious issues in adulthood. They don't disappear on their own. If you have anger issues as a teenager or had anger issues, like whoever's watching, if you're a teenager right now, you have anger issues, you'll notice as an adult, your ability to resolve conflict will not be that great. Remember I told you I grew up angry as a kid? I'm telling you, even me, I had issues resolving conflict. Either I would get really frustrated too quickly, I would start yelling, I would start, not literally, but you get when I say I'm stomping my feet, like I'm just being childish. And I can't resolve conflict, you know what I'm saying? Even other things like procrastination. You pick up these habits early on in your life, you're going to end up developing habits of avoiding responsibility as an adult. You'll be so familiar with stagnation and putting things to the side when in reality, this issue started as a kid. One thing I messed up on as a kid, that I do regret to this day, is that I grew up as somebody whose ego felt like asking for help was weak. I felt like it was immature, naive. And I'm a teenager and I want to be treated as an adult so badly that I don't want to ask for assistance or help from people when I'm internalizing my own problems, right? I have vulnerabilities and things I fear that I never addressed or spoke about because I don't want to seem like I have a lot of weaknesses. So how this translated as an adult, I continue to always try to do things on my own. I still have this habit to this day, by the way. I don't like asking for help often. And eventually, though, it's been worse in the past. But when it was the worst in the past, I felt isolated often, very often. Rather, I struggled to ask for help. It hurt me emotionally to ask. My ego just kept getting in the way about it. And later on, it became really difficult to unlearn this habit of mine. Again, it's still a thing, but like it's gotten better. Negligence of bad habits is an issue parents don't like to address, and rather they dismiss it. It's not just, it's like When you just blame a child's behavior or habits on them being quirky or it just being phases, that's just not it. Yes, sometimes phases will naturally burn themselves out. We've all been through different phases in our lives and they just disappear, right? Or maybe something else just grabs your attention and now you're not in that phase anymore. But when it's defiance and destruction, there will be long-term consequences. That's why it's very worrisome when you don't have a role model or proper mother and father figure in your life. Emphasis on proper mother and father figure. Parents are supposed to set the tone for you and actively guide a child to grow better with their decision-making skills and emotional regulation. Remember last video about the here comes the late replies, right? I mentioned in that video that a lot of people have avoidant communication issues. They want friendships and relationships, but then choose to not obligate themselves to commit to the communication it takes to do so, but yet feel entitled to have a friendship or relationship still, or they just waste your time because of it. The people who be out there searching for friendships and relationships online and stuff like that, or maybe even in person, and then proceed to ghost people or dry out after a day, they just waste people's time to be comfortable enough to do that. Think about how long they must have issues like that. Really think about it. How can you be comfortable doing that to people? But again, to be comfortable, must have been there for a while now. And listen, that doesn't make it right. But you can see as a prime example what happens when you don't address your issues. And oftentimes, people don't recognize their own flaws with it. When I mentioned the quirks I had as a teenager, I knew I had flaws, but I dismissed it. Or I said that they'll just magically fix themselves when I turn 18, because I'll just change, right, when that happens. And like I mentioned about how I perceived women, I didn't recognize that one. I didn't recognize that flaw. I didn't recognize that until I got into my second relationship. And that's what's scary. Luckily, despite my perception, my insensitivity, and my antisocial tendencies, I was able to find people to date. Now, imagine people who can't find anybody to be with. Who will check them? That's what happened to me. Second relationship, I got checked by the girl I was dating. She constantly put me in check. But ironically, she was a serial cheater, okay? She cheated on her boyfriend to get with me and then cheated on me. So, hey, that didn't help my perception that much, okay? But it did humble me, though. I'm not super into the idea that karma exists from a metaphysical level. But since I treated my first girlfriend really bad, like I mentioned earlier, and then the next girl after that cheats on me and breaks my heart after I changed for her and I did everything because she kept checking me for my poor behavior, I think that's karma for my past. But again, think about the people who don't get the opportunity for someone to put them in their place and check them. Then as they get older and older, you eventually just completely fall off the earth. It's almost impossible to rewire. And sadly, that happens to people who are also young adults. Some people don't ever get proper humbling moments in their life, or ever as a teenager, or even during the early years of adulthood. And then you see how extreme their opinions and behavior can be. You know, the person who I was hanging out with last night, they're a teacher. They teach pre-K. I don't know what that's called in other countries. I know some of y'all are from, some of y'all are European watching this video. It's like preschool pretty much. I don't know. Y'all probably have that over there, right? They were saying to me that some of the kids, it's easy to figure out who is a problem child or a misbehaving kid based on the fact that it's noticeable how they react when you tell them no. They said some parents clearly never tell their kids no, and it shows in their behavior. And then a point they made to me was that parents shouldn't wait until a child is like 7 or 9 years old to finally tell them no. And I agree. People are so scared to parent because we just think kids will be kids and their unchecked behavior is justified for that. And for the record, because this is sad that some people believe this, but for the record, I don't think school teachers are supposed to raise your kids for you, okay? They're supposed to educate them, not raise them. It's sad that some people believe that school teachers are supposed to do the parents' job, okay? Parents rely on teachers for their responsibility. Then you wonder why these kids be acting up in class. They're not going to listen to the teacher as much as they listen to their first role models in their life, aka their parents. Letting some child or some teenager be unchecked and expecting the world to magically teach them stuff does not always end up working out. I was unchecked until the world ended up checking me several times in my life. I still have imperfections and my own issues, but I've been kicked around several times over things that I never was taught by my parents on how to address. But at the same time, everyone handles getting kicked around differently. As you know me, I'm not the most emotionally stable person, but there are people way worse than me. There are people who handle rejection way worse. People who get kicked around more in life than I do, and it's way worse than I do. People who struggle with their self-worth and bad management. I was supposed to grow out of it. That's what I thought. That's what you think. Wait until you do grow. And then you realize this baggage, either that be trauma, moral compass, low confidence, poor relationship dynamics, it's going to be worse or develop into something more serious. And sometimes it's too late for people. And I hate this too. Yo, speaking of humbleness, I hate when people do this. Don't feel the need to humble other people. People feel so entitled to try to humble other people. It's not your job. It's always the people who have the worst issues trying to put other people in their place. If you were actually humble yourself, you wouldn't be doing this, because having humility isn't about tearing others down. You ever see people online react to YouTube drama or celebrity drama? Some people are trying to play superhero, bro. That's why I hate when y'all be like, cool, talk about blah, blah, blah. And it's some random YouTube drama or something I generally don't care about and don't want to know about. Okay? Like, I don't know what these people are like. What am I going to do? What do you expect me to say? You want me to make a video about it? You want me to be like many others on the internet and tear someone down? Even if their actions were not responsibly good, it's not my place though. Okay? I don't have moral authority. I am not the police. And all of y'all on the internet who play some sort of vigilante or moral authority / internet police, it's the worst, because you're jumping yourself into other people's situations that has nothing to do with you. Acting like tweeting about it and leaving hate comments or whoever is in that drama is going to fix everything by just making some grand statement, right? If someone's actions are wrong, which everyone does things that are wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Unfortunately, we treat people who have influence on the internet as we act like they're perfect. So we get really mad when they make mistakes, right? But if someone's actions are wrong, dragging them down isn't going to solve anything. It's just feeding the toxic cycle where someone else's mistakes is being exploited for your entertainment. Hence why I don't care to make it my place or jump into the situation, nor do I want to talk about it. You know, I see people who do terrible stuff online all the time. Like, I try to avoid reading about drama, about anything on social media, but you know, sometimes it just pops up eventually, right? And I'm not going to sit there. I see it and it bothers me, right? And I'm not going to sit there though and obsessively engage into it or start hopping into the comments and start tweeting about it and wasting my time, bruh. Been there, done that. Like, and during those time periods where I would do that, that's when I was the most childish in my whole life. That's when I was the most flamboyant, when my ego was constantly a driving force behind me. Y'all remember my old channel? Literally proof of concept. I'm way different now. Look, we spend so much time caring about other people's misery and mistakes and being angry with them that we never end up working on ourselves. We think we do, right? Because people act like they're just gonna grow out of their bad habits. It's just, I don't know how you're gonna do it if you're never gonna do any work for it. You know what I'm saying? People act like, teenagers and adults rather, but mostly teenagers and mostly adults who dismiss bad teenage and young adult behaviors. Y'all be acting like that. We have to look at the consequences more and stop pretending things are just going to magically happen for you, or your ideologies that you know are destructive are going to magically fix itself. And that's the moral of the video. We always have to do something about ourselves instead of always playing victim or waiting for things. But that's just my perspective. Let me know what you guys think down below. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. Times Square. Nightmare 7 a.m. in the morning though. No surprise. Times Square's you and I under those lights. No disguise. Don't tell me everything you wanted was a lie. All those city lights, it's an endless night. Never expected you to bring me so much life. Close my eyes too long, then it's time to say goodbye. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Let's dance all night until the stars always filled with emotion. Gave the key to you, right in front of you is open. Hey, try your best to not leave it broken. Oh,